What if I told you the way it has always been done is not the best way? Facing your fears will change your life. The passion behind this journey is merging two separate worlds into one with the goal of creating value and awareness for a better life.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode is brought to you by R&R Pipeline, an infrastructure company. Our purpose? Enhancing America's infrastructure with a safety-driven, integrity-led culture that provides an environment for team members to grow and thrive. So I don't talk about training a whole lot. Training is such a passion of mine, and I want to go into my favorite lift and why it's my favorite lift. So when I was probably 17, I used to race motocross, growing up, and I had a pretty bad crash where I partially tore ACL, MCL, meniscus. And at 17 years old, I was invincible. Nothing was going to get me down, and I did not take rehab very serious. So the amount of setback I had because of this injury lasted me really up until a couple of years ago that I truly understand it. So because of that knee injury, I have a severely weak left hamstring. It's much better now, and I've had a lot of work done to get it better, but nonetheless, it's still an issue. And so throughout the years, I have taken to the bench press because it did not have an impact on my knee. Squat and deadlift are probably, in my opinion, the most bang for your buck as far as lifts go. It's muscle growth, stamina, strength. I mean, everything that they represent carries over into regular day life. A squat, we do a squat every day, multiple times a day. A deadlift, anyone that picks something off the ground, it's going to have a tremendous impact. But for me, it was the bench press. And I started benching probably around that 16 to 17-year-old time frame where me and a buddy used to have a little setup in his basement. We'd go knock out 100 sets of chest or whatever it was, and we just bench. That's all we would do. And in high school, that's kind of the thing. You measure your alpha male status by a bench press. And that was the thing I enjoyed doing. Now, it evolved because of the injuries. And I never evolved because of the injuries until just a couple of years ago. The bench press represents a lot to me in life. And I thought I was always a decent bencher until I went to Westside Barbell. And I'll get to that in a second. So throughout the years, I could always bench around that 350 mark. I would get up to that. Anywhere from 300 to 350 was kind of a staple of mine from probably the age of 20 and on. It never really challenged me to get to that, but I never broke past that threshold. Up until probably 26 or 27, I might have benched 365 once or twice. And then I remember going to the old school gym, bench with Corey one day, and I think I hit 355 and barely missed 365. And probably a month or two after that, me and Corey and Tony Ramos, who's a Westside Barbell legend, we all sat down and had lunch and we're talking business. Me and Tony quickly became great friends. And to this day, I consider him one of my probably top 5 best friends. And we were all sitting down, we're talking business. And for me, I want to talk about lifting weights. Like, I'm here for business. I understand what the business opportunity looked like pretty quick. So it was like, all right, Tony, let's talk about some iron. So we became friends, and it didn't take but a month or two. He's like, hey, why don't you come to Westside and bench on Sundays? So the invite was there, and I was excited about the opportunity, but I had so much respect for Westside Barbell, what it represented, and truly knowing that gym, I didn't go because I was scared. And the more that Tony opened up that invitation and the more that to me to get my ass there, I started to look into the history of Westside Barbell and did not realize until really diving into the history of Westside that George Halbert, who was the coach on Sundays, I did not understand how legendary he was. And George is probably the most intelligent human I've ever met when it comes to bench pressing. And he was known as the bench press king for years. He absolutely dominated the sport for a long time. His ability to leverage the weight in the way that he did is just phenomenal. Very analytical, very detailed, very, very smart. George to this day is probably the person between him and Tony that on a bench press that I learned the most from. So when I walked into Westside Barbell finally, I was completely terrified to go into that place because I knew that most gyms I can walk in and be a pretty decent bench presser. And I knew walking into Westside Barbell, I was going to be at the bottom of the totem pole if I was even allowed to stay there more than a couple of weeks. And my first probably month or so, I just kind of did my own thing and just watched. And I was terrified. I don't know why. It's just some weight, just a bunch of dudes. But I had so much respect for the place that I didn't want to go in to that group and be a misfit or not belong there. And by doing my own thing, I didn't belong there. And I was a misfit because of that. So my intent was to not get in the way, and I was getting in the way with my intent, regardless of it. So I finally jumped into the group. Tony talked me into it, and he took me under his wing. And when he took me under his wing, he helped me understand grounding, connection, the CNS, and how much it actually plays an impact on the lift itself. I thought I understood weightlifting just a little bit until I walked in there and learned on a bench press how impactful the small things are and how majority of the perceived small things are actually the big things that are overlooked way too often. So walking into Westside, benching 355 and 6 months of consistent training with the crew, and I hit 425. And I was shocked the day that I did it, to be quite honest, because I had never benched 400 or 405. I never benched 4 plates. I think I had benched 400 when I was younger, but it was just ego lift, freak of nature day. It was probably more luck than it was anything else. But when I walk into Westside that day, I remember Corey was there. I think Treadway was there. And it was almost an out-of-body experience. And I'm so glad that I had the videos of it because I did not even understand the impact that would have long-term, because then it's possible. For anyone that lifts weights, and especially lifts heavy, there's a fear that comes with seeing a plate, an additional plate on the bar. If it's a squat and you're going from 5 to 6 plates, if it's a bench and you're going from 3 to 4 plates, that plate in itself, regardless of the actual weight difference, the plate means so much more because it's just right in front of you when you go sit down and see it, and it's just getting in your head. And anyone that lifts heavy understands this. There's a psychological component to lifting weights in general, but also to seeing 4 plates on the bar. So 405 on the bar, and you know that shit's heavy. It's heavy enough that it can crush you if things don't go right. I learned that the hard way, and the impact of overcoming that fear forever changed how I walk into the gym. So we were lifting one Sunday morning. Everything had been going just according to plan, and we were doing a 5 rep max. I was on one that day, and I was convinced I was going to beat everybody. And as we get down, we worked up to, I think, 350, smoked them all. It was real easy. And I'm probably getting a little arrogant, a little cocky. I'm talking some shit. And lo and behold, when I get up to, I would say 385, I think is what it was. So 385 for a 5 rep max. And the first rep, I absolutely smoke. But I know right away that to get 5, I'm going to have to move the bar quick. Bar speed is going to have to be at the front of it. It's going to have to be the first thing that I think about as I come down and I go up. Explosion, bar speed. So with that, not taking my time going down and making sure that I give it everything I have as quick as I can going up. So I get through the first rep, get through the second rep, come down on the third rep faster than the second. So I bring the bar down instead of letting the bar come down naturally. I force it down. And when I forced it down, I got out of rhythm. And when I hit my chest and I just pause for a split second and then explode, my wrist curls back and I'm pushing as hard as I can. And the bar's probably 12 inches off my chest. My arms end up slipping out from underneath of me, probably about 18 inches by the time I had completely let go. And the bar slips completely out of my hands and hits me right across the chest. If you YouTube, Hayden Snyder did it. There's a bunch of videos that you can look at a bench press fail, and it would look identical to that. Hit me right in between my rib cage, right in between my sternum, and it knocked me out for about 10 seconds. I wake up not able to breathe with Tony Ramos holding my arms above my head, sitting there smacking me, trying to wake me up and get me to come to. I was sore for probably 8 to 12 weeks, to the point that I didn't do reverse hypers for probably 3 months because the pain on my rib cage was severe. And it told me two things. I'm going to have to face this again. So right away, my first instinct was knowing that this is going to be something that I have to overcome. So challenge accepted. The other part was, I'm not very strong because this should not have hurt me, but it did. So it hurt, but when it came back to lifting heavy and it came back to getting that groove, that fear went with me where I took it. It didn't take me anywhere. The fear of getting that weight back over my face that had dropped the wrong way would literally kill me. At any given moment, a bar slips out and hits your neck, it could kill you instantly. So I had a newfound appreciation for the bench press because of what it represents, but also because even at the greatest powerlifting gym, in my opinion, and maybe the world, the Mecca, the Westside Barbell. Even at Westside Barbell, the weight slips out of your hands with 3 spotters. The guys that were spotting did everything they could and still couldn't get the weight. And the motto that I like to look at this from with a bench press, it's on you. Just like life. No matter what's going on, it's on you. So what do you do when the fear hits, when the adversity is there? What do you do when it gets hard? What do you do when the weight's up over your head and it feels like it's going to drop on you and kill you? The bench press, because of all these circumstances, became my favorite lift, still is today. And it's broken me, bruised me, shattered me, caused injuries, damn near killed me. But I will always show up and do it again. Because the second that I'm scared of it is the second that fear starts to take over. And knowing that I could fail again and it could kill me is probably the reason that I still do it. I absolutely love it. It is a motto in life that when the weight's the heaviest, when the weight of the world's up over top of you, when you feel like the weight of the world's on your chest, you just got to push through. Just push through, because eventually that weight won't be on your chest. And two things happen. You either fail and run from it and let fear run your life, or you push the weight off your chest and you continue to get better. And there's going to be setbacks. I had a pec injury a couple years ago from bench pressing, ego lifting probably. But just knowing that it's on you, no one else is coming to save you. Even if you have people around you that are within inches of you, it's still on you because they're not quick enough to get it most of the time. It's on us. Always is, always has been, always will be. So for me, just like a bench press, 435 pounds, I walk in one day. I hit that 425 in 2019. 3 to 4 years later, I hit 430. And probably a year and a half ago, I walk in on 3 hours sleep. 3 hours of damn sleep, exhausted. And we're maxing out that day. Of course we are. And I had two choices. I can either run from this thing or for a split second, just a few seconds, I can give it every damn thing I have to get through it. That day I bench pressed 435. Exhausted me. It whipped me, but I wasn't scared. I got the damn lift. And I walked out of there that day having accomplished something that I had never accomplished before. So excuses can be left at the door. If you show up, you got to do the thing. The bench press by far is my favorite lift. 450 will be something I accomplish one day. But remember, as I'm speaking about this, it took me 20 years to be able to bench 435. And from 425 to 435 was probably 5 or 6 years of consistent heavy lifting, hard training, good recovery for 10 pounds. 5 years for 10 pounds. So understanding that, this takes a long time. Be patient with the result and resilient with the work. It will all come back when it's meant to, not probably when you want it to. 5 years for 10 pounds. The next time we'll probably take another 5 for another 10 pounds. But after that next 10 pounds, then there's only 5 pounds to go until that 450 is hit. Mark my words, it will happen. Probably not this year, but it will happen. That season will come back. So my favorite lift, the bench press, hands down, carries over into life so much. If any of you out there want to talk about bench pressing, about recovery, about anything, if you need anything, if you think the content is valuable, share it to your friends, like it, reach out to me if you want to hear anything else. If you have any requests, I'm here for it. I'm all about trying to help out, trying to create awareness, and trying to provide value as I can. And if you think it's valuable, share it out. Thanks. This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com.